Hello guys. Today I will talk about doing business with Goetic spirits. So, doing business with Goetic spirits, I once did a video, recorded a video on doing business with King Paimon. That was a good one, I guess. People like these interesting titles of videos that in a sense make them curious to watch the video. Doing business may mean many different things. So what I want to say in this video is what, of course, the Goetic spirits. You can summon Goetic spirits, and each has their own specific profile, so to speak. So as we know, so you can summon a spirit, and it does something specific for you because it is part of its nature, or part of how it can interact with human beings. That's how I would say. We can describe it. It is not really part of its nature, may not be the correct description of it, but it is an aspect of its interaction with humans. So, but there's one problem connected to it, because what many dabblers don't know is you need a solid foundation and something completely non-related, or not really directly related to your work with the Goetic entities before you approach these spirits. Some will call it, okay, you need a meditative practice. That's basically it. You need to have meditation practice beforehand in place for quite some time. Of course, you can try it out without that, or with minimal experience in that field, or with minimal meditation practice. But it will not be very fruitful, so to speak. There's the thing is, when you work with these entities, first of all, there is an energy exchange in the communication and the contact experience itself. So, and also when you ask for something, when you ask for a certain object in your life, object can be anything. So I'm not talking about physical objects necessarily, can also be something intangible, right? Then I tend to say, also I wrote this in my book, in my book you can find on my website, I wrote things are not presented to you on a silver tray. And I really mean that. Things are not presented to you on a silver tray. Meaning implying that there is quite often a lesson to be learned, and things are not delivered in the way you often expect them to be delivered to you, or given to you, or presented to you in some form. Of course, what can these spirits do? As I already pointed out, they can offer you, they can offer you something specific regarding their mode of interaction with humans. But what's the point? What's the point of doing so without you learning a lesson from it? And some spirits have a how could you say? Some spirits have a particular talent, in apostrophes, talent to do exactly that. Give you a good lesson in terms of your own expectations, so what you expect the spirit to do for you, and they related what you think, they related directly back to your own understanding of yourself. So I talk a lot about, on my channel I talk about so many different things. So as you've noted, not every video is titled like Belial, King of Hell, or Doing Business with King Paimon, or anything, right? I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that for a specific reason. I could just make every video about a spirit, and then give that information to the people out there. Like the easiest way is put the name of the spirit in the title, and people would probably like that, or people would probably be interested in that. But there's no real educational value in it, because it will backfire. For let's say probably 90% of the people watching it will just backfire. Because what's the point? What's the point of giving people a profile of a spirit? Let's say this is the name of the spirit, or these are the names you can use to address the spirits, or this particular spirit. These are the names you can use to address this particular spirit, and then give out a profile, what you found on the internet, for example, or regarding your own experience. And you guys know exactly what I like to do quite often is I like to give you my own experiences. I don't give a lot on what other people say about their own experiences. Of course, if it confirms something that I've learned myself from the spirit, good. If not, I don't care either. Or I don't really care if it does not align with mainstream, or what, not really mainstream, about what other people have experienced, because quite often people tend to get entangled in what they have read about the spirit, and then what they have read about the spirit manifests in their own mind, and then they think it's real spirit contact, whereas it's just imagination. So that's not what I am about here. I'm presenting you also the foundational information. So what do I talk about quite often, which might not necessarily spark an interest in all people, but if you watch videos where I talk about the unconscious mind, of course, lots of that stuff is quite abstract. Where I talk about the unconscious mind, or seeing, being able to view all negative aspects of yourself, the concept of integration, things like that. So many of these concepts are of psychological nature, and my book is loaded with that stuff. My book is absolutely loaded with that type of information. That's why I think it's so useful for many out there. And of course, not only that, it's that there are lots of my own philosophical perspectives and stuff like that. My view of society, and so I present a lot of critical views also, and people don't need to agree with my viewpoints. I don't expect that at all, and generally people don't have to agree with me anyway, because if everybody agrees with me, what's the point of making these videos, right? So I wanna challenge people a little bit, because especially when I say see all the negative in yourself, that's where people usually drift off to some other place, right? And that's understandable. But this is the important point. This is exactly the important point. Because what do you think will happen when you work with a spirit such as Belial? So if you're just interested in, hey, what's the profile of the spirit? This is the name. You can use this name, that name, and then here's what the spirit can do for you. Do the ritual like that. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or 1, 2, 3, do all of that. Switch off your mind and then just execute the orders, or execute the points that I'm giving you. Then it does not fulfill its purpose, right? It simply does not, because if you draw a spirit such as Belial to you, it will completely mess up your little mental world. It will show you exactly who you are. And I advise you, I've gone before I worked with Belial, before I jumped into my work with him, I did quite a lot of this work of self-reflection. A lot of that stuff. Of course, I mean, I was not perfect at that point, and I am still not. I'm still working on many things that I have not figured out regarding things that I have not processed to a certain degree, and I can speak open about it. I will not get into many of the details here, but of course we have all our deficiencies, and we have all a lot of things to work on. Otherwise, we would not get this chance of experiencing this incarnation if we were all perfect beings. And then just check out people reporting their spirit contact experiences. What do they tell you? So that's an important point, I guess. So I find that very, very interesting, because what people usually tell you, I mean, there are people out there reporting their own genuine experiences, but many people many people I've seen are just it sounds like all the other experiences you can read about, you can watch on YouTube or anywhere else, right? So if it all sounds like the same shit, what's the point? I don't really think there's a lot of value consuming such information. So having said that, I don't wanna get too much into it. I just wanna say it's also not really. I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with people being at a specific stage in their spiritual development. But the most important point is to be able to see, at least at some point, even if it's retrospectively processing a lot of the information, seeing that work needs to be done to overcome internal problems, internal psychological problems. Internal psychological, or let's say internal issues concerning the unconscious mind, because the unconscious mind then will become your gateway into the spirit world. So if you have problems regarding your own unconscious mind, issues that will stand in your way when you work with these entities, because what do you think Belial will do when you work with them? He will exactly bring that to the surface, and this will happen in a very uncontrollable way. And it happened with me back then. Although I had done a lot of shadow work, I had done a lot of introspection. I had studied psychology, a degree. I have a degree in psychology that was completed by that time. So I had many years of. I'm not saying you need an academic degree of any kind at all. It will probably not really help you a lot, but all I want to say is that I had a lot of knowledge and also personal experience regarding the subject area of psychological, let's say psychological health, the unconscious mind, and stuff like that. So, and even for me, it was so uncontrollable. So, I'm not saying I'm like I was in a perfect condition, because I was not in a perfect condition. But what I want to point out, that there may be some people out there considering or people out there playing with these entities as if it was some kind of a game. Hey, let's just check out what this spirit can do for me. What can this spirit do for me? It's like we're living in this time where everything is clickable, right? Accessible. I click on it and I get it. So it's coming from the same mindset. It's the desire you have. I want that. Can that spirit do that for me? Okay, click. I will get it. I will summon it, and hopefully it delivers. Right? That's a big problem. I would say that's a really big problem. So get yourself into a state and confront yourself first, because the way you confront yourself with unprocessed trauma, let's say, unprocessed emotions, if you can bring them to the surface, you have at least some kind of control over it, as opposed to giving that control over to a spirit such as Belial, and that brings up all that shit, and it may completely mess up your whole life. Mess up, always see that in that way. Mess up and apostrophes. Not every person is. I don't know if that expression exists in English language. Is cut of the same wood. We have something like that in German. We're not all the same. We work not in the same way. Our psyche does not work in the same way. So for me, I was a little bit aware of what was coming, but I didn't understand the full extent of it. And as I said, it comes in a very it may come in a very uncontrollable way. And I'm not trying to discourage you from working with Belial. It's actually quite the opposite. I just want you to be prepared of that kind of work, because it can be so intense. It can be so intense to the extent that you don't know that the problems that you are facing in your immediate environment are actually related to your spirit work, where you question until the point that you question your own sanity, and maybe to the point, and that was my situation, to the point where I was not really, at least in one phase of that work with Belial, I was not able to put the pieces together really. I could not see that the way I was behaving was actually the spirit showing me how messed up I was. Right, and even thinking back at this time, it was not good. It was absolutely not. It was not a good time. But yeah, I mean, I asked Belial specific things specific things when working with him, and he stick to his or let's say he fulfilled my petition eventually, and yeah, so in the end it worked out, and I consider Belial one of my allies. He can be a very strong supporter of you, but be also aware of the fact that has people say something like if you work with certain entities, you will pay a price for that, right? And the price, that's a matter of interpretation what that really is. But people quite often just lose their mental sanity. That's just a matter of fact. And you can see that even in you can see that in people working in the occult. By working, I mean they are doing their own spirit work, right? You can see that in people. Sometimes they get out of it and resolve problems, but mental sanity is quite often the biggest risk as you become obsessed with your spirit work, and the degree of obsession is probably one of the biggest risk factors, because in that, how would you say, in that vein, in that complete obsession, you lose yourself. To a certain extent, that might be necessary, but that is also the phase where the spirit can have full control over you. And here's the important point: without you actually understanding, realizing what's actually going on. Right. So this is why that's the point of this video. So we can do business with these Goetic entities, and I'm in favor of doing that. But let's prepare ourselves sufficiently before jumping in without doing the required work. So without having a meditation practice, but meditation is not everything, right? So you need to reflect on yourself. You need that degree of self-awareness, and it's one of the hardest things, because you can try to become more self-aware, but there may be limits, right? So yeah, that was my message for today. 22 minutes, 23 minutes. It has been longer than I wanted to make this video, but I hope you get the message. If anyone feels that was too direct, wasn't meant to offend anyone out there. It is just so important, you know. So just take these words very, very seriously. Very seriously before working with these entities, and while you're working with these entities, right? In the process of doing your work, at any time, work on yourself, because the more you work on yourself, the better the vessel is equipped. So that's what I say: the better your vessel is equipped, the more quality has the information flowing through the system, the more you can learn from it, the more prosperous is your spiritual development. Yeah, things like that. So guys, have a good one. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and don't forget, leave a comment. And if you want, also have a look at my services on my website, linked in the channel description. So guys, have a good one, and see you next time.